In the thick jungles of Burma, during the closing days of World War II, a single man stood alone in a trench, bleeding, broken, and blind in one eye. In front of him lay dozens of enemy corpses. Behind him, the survival of his entire unit hung in the balance. His name was Lachhiman Gurung, and his story is one of the most astonishing tales of courage the world has ever known. Lachhiman Gurung was born in 1917, in the rugged village of Dahakani in Chitwan, Nepal. A quiet, forested region where people lived simple lives and shared proud traditions. From the time he was a child, Lachhiman grew up hearing the tales of Gurkhas, Nepalese warriors who had earned a fearsome reputation for loyalty and bravery across the world. These were not ordinary soldiers. Gurkhas were feared by enemies, respected by allies, and bound by an unshakable code of honor. Boys from villages all over Nepal dreamed of becoming one. So did Lachhiman. But when he reached the age to enlist, there was a problem. He was only 4 feet 11 inches tall, below the British Indian Army's height requirement. He was told to go home. But Lachhiman didn't give up. He persisted. Something in his voice, in the way he stood, must have struck the recruiters. They gave him a chance. In December 1940, at the age of 23, Lachhiman Gurung became a rifleman in the 4th Battalion of the 8th Gurkha Rifles. For 5 years, Gurung fought in the grueling campaigns of the Second World War, serving with loyalty and grit. But it was in Burma in May 1945 that his moment of truth would come. The Japanese Imperial Army was fighting desperately to hold its grip on Southeast Asia. In the remote jungles near the Irrawaddy River, Gurung's battalion had been ordered to hold a ridge near the small village of Tongda. His job: defend a forward trench with 2 other riflemen. The position was exposed and dangerous, just a narrow slit in the ground surrounded by thick jungle and enemy-controlled territory. Then came the night of May 12th. Rain fell. The jungle was silent. Then it began, a sudden roar of gunfire, shouting, and grenades. Over 200 Japanese soldiers launched a ferocious nighttime assault. Within moments, the 2 soldiers beside Gurung were dead. Grenades landed in the trench. The first, Gurung picked up and threw back. Then another, he threw that too. But the third grenade exploded in his hand. The blast destroyed his fingers. Shrapnel tore through his right arm. One eye was blinded. Blood gushed from wounds across his face and body. In agony, half-conscious, he lay in the mud. Any ordinary man would have given up. But Lachhiman Gurung was not an ordinary man. Somehow, through the haze of pain, Gurung managed to lift his rifle. He could no longer use his right hand, so he wedged the weapon into the side of the trench, used his left to load and fire, and began shooting. Alone. Bleeding. Half-blind. He held the line. For the next 4 hours, waves of Japanese soldiers tried to overrun his position. They attacked with grenades, rifles, bayonets. Gurung fired at everything that moved, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Come and fight a Gurkha." His cries pierced the night, echoing through the jungle like a war chant. When he ran out of bullets, he reloaded with one hand. When enemies came too close, he fought them off with his bayonet. Dead bodies began to pile up in front of the trench. He was no longer just defending a position, he was making a stand against death itself. By the time the sun rose on the morning of May 13th, the Japanese had retreated. In front of Gurung's trench lay 31 dead Japanese soldiers. His uniform was soaked in blood. His rifle was smoking. And he was still alive. News of Lachhiman Gurung's stand spread quickly. Even in a war filled with horrors and heroics, this act stood out. A man who had lost his arm and eye, who continued to fight alone for hours, saving the lives of countless others. For his actions, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, the British Empire's highest military honor for gallantry. He received it at Red Fort in Delhi from Field Marshal Wavell, in a ceremony surrounded by salutes and silence. But his battle wasn't over. After the war, Lachhiman returned to his village in Nepal. His right arm was gone. His right eye was blinded. But he remained strong in spirit. He married, raised a family, and lived a quiet life farming the land. But he never forgot the war. And the war never forgot him. In later decades, Gurung became involved in a new kind of fight, the battle for Gurkha rights. Despite their loyal service, many Gurkha veterans were denied the right to live in the UK. In the 2000s, Gurung joined the campaign led by actress Joanna Lumley, advocating for justice for retired Gurkha soldiers. His presence, small-aged but unshakably proud, moved the public and politicians alike. The campaign succeeded. Gurkha veterans were granted settlement rights in Britain. Lachhiman himself moved to Hounslow, West London, where he was honored with the freedom of the borough and received tributes from fellow soldiers, officials, and strangers who admired his courage. On December 12, 2010, Lachhiman Gurung passed away from pneumonia. He was 92 years old. He was buried with full military honors in Chisik New Cemetery, a Gurkha blade carved into his gravestone, and his story etched forever into history. In 2018, a statue of him was raised in his home village, bronze and proud, rifle in hand, a silent reminder of the night one man refused to die. Lachhiman Gurung was not the tallest soldier. He was not the strongest. But when 200 enemies charged his trench, he stayed. When his hand was blown off, he fought. When he could no longer see, he aimed. And when the world nearly forgot the bravery of men like him, he rose again, not with a weapon but with his voice. He didn't just win a battle. He inspired generations. His name lives on in military history, in Nepalese pride, and in the hearts of all who believe in standing your ground, no matter the odds. One man, one trench, one working arm, and over 200 enemy soldiers charging straight at him. This isn't a movie. This happened. And the man who stood his ground, blinded, bleeding, and alone, was Lachhiman Gurung, a Gurkha warrior who became a legend. What he did on that battlefield will leave you speechless. This is the true story of the one-armed soldier who took on an entire army and won.